Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here at the Halifax International Security Forum in Nova Scotia, Canada, one of the world's leading gatherings of security, economic, diplomatic, and civil society leaders in the world. Our coverage here is sponsored by L3 Technologies and Leonardo DRS, and we're honored to have with us the Minister of National Defense for Canada, Harjit Singh Sajjan. Sir, thanks very much. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
No, it's a great opportunity for us to have a really good deep and intimate conversation about the security challenges that we all face.
Absolutely. It's the 10th anniversary here. It's your 4th as Defense Minister. Let's go to the theme of this conference, right? Are we tired of winning? It's the 100th anniversary of the conclusion of the war to end all wars, and that's certainly not been the case. And Canadian troops, just like yourself, you're a retired lieutenant colonel in the Canadian Army, have spilled their blood in battlefields all around the world in that 100 years since. The international order was supposed to solve that, but now it's under pressure from so many different fronts. Are we tired of winning? Is the international order, in danger at this point?
Well, first of all, I think here at the International Security Forum here in Halifax, we want to provoke these type of conversation, and this question does provoke that. We have to, even when we feel that things are going well, that we feel that we're winning, we need to analyze not only the success that we had, but the potential negative aspect of things, and that's what this question is about. We have our countries have benefited from trade, from a global order and stuff, but at the same time, we do see challenges that we face, and we need to look at how do we address them properly. It's important that we get the right advice, and this International Security Forum allows us to have a good discussion, so that policymakers can make the right decisions.
One of the things you said, which should be carved on a plaque and put on every leader's desk, is, are the decisions that I'm making today the right decisions and will stand the test of time 100 years from now? What do you think some of the biggest challenges are that we need to wrap our arms around as an international community? Peter Van Prague mentioned very articulately, right, populism and the challenge of that should be pushed into the shadows. There was a lot of discussion here about nationalism and how that can rear its head. From your standpoint, as somebody who's looked at the spectrum from hard power and how you combine that with other elements of national power, what do you think sort of the big challenges are?
Well, first of all, I think we should never look at hard power, soft power. It's about understanding the problem itself. And when we look at the issue of populism, the alt-right, and some of the challenges that we face, what is the root cause of that? And what we need to do is, what it comes down to, I think all of us, what we need to focus on, how do our citizens in our respective countries all feel that they're benefiting from the success of the country. And when people feel that they don't, this a fear is created, or sometimes you end up blaming one another. And then there will be organizations out there who want to fuel that anxiety and make things worse. But when everybody feels that they are feeling that success, that inclusivity of success, that helps to dampen some of those issues. So we can't ignore those things. We can't just say, "Oh, that's wrong. We don't do that." We have to challenge, obviously, any type of negative bias, hate, any type of messaging. But we need to ask ourselves the question: why is it happening? And are we doing our part to making sure that everybody feels inclusive in their growth? And in Canada, we focus a lot on that. That's why we focus a lot on making sure that we support the middle class and those working hard to join it. This is not a buzzword. This is about how do we make good policies for all Canadians.
There are no military relationship as intimate as the one between Canada and the United States, but there's been stresses. There's a renegotiation of NAFTA that's happened, so there's a new agreement, but tariffs still remain on the books. Last year when you and I spoke, there was the whole Bombardier affair in terms of tariffs that were aimed at Canada's premier aerospace company. How do you characterize the relationship with the United States on a working level, on a practical level?
First of all, I'll talk about our defense relationship couldn't be stronger. And our relationship between Canada and the U.S. is built over decades and decades of working together, whether from trade or on the battlefield. And when you have difficult conversations like we've had when it comes to trade issues, and it's good when you have governments on both sides standing up for their citizens, but that's what good neighbors do. And our relationship is even stronger stronger when we have those conversations. We're able to tweak things and make things better, making sure that we have fairness in both our countries. The relationship actually grows. So I don't look at these as challenges. These are good conversations that we need to have to making sure that we are supporting our countries, that we are also not also looking strictly from a selfish lens. We're looking at both of us as good, respectful neighbors, and we see that in the military every single day.
Last year, though, when we talked, it looked like you were going to acquire some F-18s. After the Bombardier issue, you told me we're going to get used Canadian aircraft. You're not, Boeing isn't going to be party to a suit against our leading company and us acquire their aircraft. And there are those who are saying, hey, look, the F-35 in Canada has been a partner on that program since its inception. But there is this concern that if more than 70% of Canadians, where the American president is unpopular with 70% of the population, that it would be difficult for Canada to acquire a $30 billion or however many billions program. Is that a factor at all in the decision making ultimately in terms of the capability you acquire for your next combat aircraft?
No, in fact, actually, our procurement process is based on the requirements that we build in Canada. But we are also extremely mindful that it's not just strictly when we bringing in a capability for the military. It's not just for Canada. Our closest relationship is the U.S. when it comes to NORAD. So when we looked at our commitments, we did a thorough analysis, made the right requirements, and through a good procurement process that's fair and transparent, we will be able to pick not only just the right aircraft for Canada, but more importantly, that aircraft is used within NORAD for both nations, and that's what was very important. And if anybody wants to question our resolve, when we did the analysis on not just the requirements, but the number of aircraft, through our analysis we determined that 65 originally aircraft that the previous government wanted was actually not enough. Hence the reason why we're actually bumped it to 88. And that's what good, responsible neighbors do, is to making sure that you go through a proper analysis. And keep in mind, the U.S., when they do procurement, do the same thing, making sure they have the right best capability, and we will do that.
Let me ask you about spending. 1.23% of GDP. Canada is a NATO ally that's participated in every operation since the birth of the alliance, supported that 2% goal. There are many in Canada who have said, look, that's not reflective. For example, Canada lost more troops in Afghanistan per capita than any other country. How do you get to that 2%? Why is 2% important, and what's the roadmap that gets you there?
No, this is about making sure that, first of all, the Wills Pledge was about making sure that we stop the decline in spending in our respective countries, and that has happened. Plus, we need a credible plan in our militaries to be not only to be able to invest, but invest in capabilities, and capabilities that lead you to providing good contributions. And in Canada, we have done that. With our new defense policy, we have gone through a good analysis of not only what we need in Canada, what's good for North American defense with the U.S., for example, hence the reason why we went up to 88 aircraft that we'll be purchasing, and also what is engagement in the world. We have contributed more. And then you cost everything out. Based on that analysis, we are going to be increasing our defense spending by 70% by 2026. And that is not just a roadmap of a plan. Our government has also carved that money out of the fiscal framework for the next 20 years. So the military now can actually do predictable and sustainable planning because the money is actually there. Yes, we do have more work that needs to be done in terms of but we will do the appropriate analysis. When it comes to any nations, you have to go at the pace of what you can absorb. And that's what we are doing to be extremely responsible, not only with the work that we're doing around the world, but more importantly, of setting a positive example for our allies. Think not only here's our plan, it's actually backed up with the dollars behind it.
Harjit Singh Sajjan, Minister of National Defence for Canada, sir. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Nice talking to you.